Hello, and thank you for tuning in again to my series, You've Been Found Guilty, Now What? Today we're going to discuss in our federal and then white-collar sentencing options, self-surrendering. The court has agreed to let you self-surrender. That's what a great idea. And all you had to do was show up on that specific day. You're feeling pretty good. The family feels good. You had to show up at the correct institution. You had it timed out. Your family drove you there, right? Everything's good? Wrong. And what to be wary of. Because if you arrived before the judge's orders have arrived and they didn't know you were coming, you may have a problem and you could wind up in solitary confinement for up to a month. And don't say it doesn't happen, because it does, it did, and it happened to yours truly, me. Believe it or not. So the process of getting the court's order to the specific Bureau of Prison institution on time, for the most part, is an assumption that this is a process that automatically happens. But we're going to go back in life skills, if you will, as to what does it mean to assume. And unfortunately for me, I was 35 years old. I was in practice for just 2 years when I learned what does it mean to assume. And one of my nurses took me aside. She wrote the word assume on a piece of paper and drew a line before and after the U. And that's when I learned what it meant to assume and never assume again. So here then, that leads us to Ronald Reagan in Trust but Verify. And unfortunately, in this particular example, we have our attorneys or legal teams at times, not all, we have the trust without verification. And while this does happen, however infrequently, we don't want to be the person that winds up showing up at the prison gates and they don't expect us there. Because once you arrive, they're going to take your ID card, they're going to take your driver's license, social security card, whatever other records you have, and if they don't have the court's records, they're going to hold you. They're not going to tell you to go home. And they can hold you in isolation, and what they were told me is they can hold you up to a month. And this turns an innocuous first-timer's introduction to prison into a nightmare. And this can really be prevented with very little effort from your legal team. So some great pointers on how to make this a smoother transition. First of all, your legal team can verify with the prison and the Marshal Service that the judge's orders have arrived before you even get there. If you're told, if you're the client, or in this case, if you're the legal team listening to this, if you're going to a satellite camp, don't present to the camp. You have to go to the higher security prison. If you're going to a federal prison camp, well then good. All you do is present to the prison camp itself. But if you have to go to a satellite camp, you need to present where there's guards, guns, and prisoners with shackles and cuffs running around. As the attorney, they need to give you a heads up because you're going to see prisoners going around with shackles and cuffs on, and you're going to see guards with long guns. And this is because everybody handles the emotional aspects of going to prison in their own way. For me, it definitely was an easy thing. I was never handcuffed. I wasn't even handcuffed in my own experience going through the BOP. Through the entire event, I never had a pair of handcuffs put on me. Once you arrive, they're going to screen you. They're going to give you a change of clothes, which will then be boxed up with anything else you shouldn't have, and returned to your legal residence. You should bring with you your birth certificate, passport, driver's license, social security card. This all will be kept within the Bureau of Prisons to be returned to you after your incarceration. Legal papers are allowed to be brought with you, along with any personal addresses and phone numbers that you have. Our next YouTube is going to be regarding COVID, but specifically post-COVID or long COVID symptoms. And I'm going to go into in a little bit depth, are prisons prepared to care for you? Because it's really beyond their mission. So if you are potentially or have the potential to be a post-COVID long hauler, this is not the place where you want to be. I hope you've found this helpful. Should you have any questions, you can email me at that address. You have my phone number. You can Google search me, or you can find publications that I've had with legal journals. I look forward to meeting you at our next session, and I hope you have a safe week until we meet again.